Hi folks, this is the third video in my Scrabble strategy tutorial. This one's taken a little bit more time than I wanted to get out, mainly because my camera broke and I had to get another one. But thanks for all the feedback I've been getting on my first two videos. If you guys could keep that coming, that would be great. Today I'll be covering the valuation of tiles. Now this isn't how much a tile is worth for face value, but rather how much it should be worth to you on your rack. Tile valuation is the first and most important step in mastering the leave. And for a beginner, it is probably the biggest step besides learning all of the two-letter words. Now, it may be a lot more technical than some of us were looking for, but we have to remember that this is crucial in understanding Scrabble strategy. In fact, it is so useful and important that I've created a 26-minute video, which I'm going to have to break into 3 parts. Certain tiles are either better conserved or dumped off of your rack. Looking at a V, we know instinctively that we want to get rid of them as fast as possible, yet we should also be conserving our nice tiles like E's. You should already know that the nice tiles such as S, E, or R are better to conserve, while the bad tiles such as W, U, and V are better just to play off when you can. This is based on the assumption that disregarding all other considerations, keeping an E on your rack is going to be giving you more points in your next round than keeping a U on your rack. You can see the relative value of tiles here. The positive value tiles are valuable, such as the X and Z, and the negative value tiles are not, such as the Q and the J. Are they all about where you expected them to be? Of course, the SER letters are also valuable, whereas the WUV tiles are not. But where did this quantification come from? This is where I must introduce you to the wonderful world of Quackle. Now, I mentioned this program in the first episode quickly. The backbone of Quackle is an AI algorithm. A little background for Quackle can be seen on the Wikipedia page for Maven, which is its predecessor AI algorithm, which was actually used in one of the first Hasbro Scrabble CD-ROMs that was released about 15 years ago. Quackle is very powerful in that I can probably beat it about 5% of the time, and those are all lucky wins. The AI is based on millions of simulations which quantify the play based on offense, defense, and leave. When you add up the points from these 3 categories, what you have is a valuation for your entire play. Today, we'll be ignoring defense and leave that for a later video, but you should know now that Quackle usually doesn't take defense into consideration unless it's an obvious triple word score opening or if it's one of the first few moves of the game. I'll show you the value for single tile leaves again. The R is rated 6.6 points higher than a V because on average with those tiles as leaves, you will garnish about 7 extra points in the following turn by keeping the R. Take the opening play of Fox and the hypothetical rack IMRV. The 2 best plays in this instance are Vim for 19 and Mir for 20. Although Mir wins out by 1 point, Vim is actually rated 5.6 points higher as it discards the V. Consider the hypothetical 4-tile rack of BMOP on the opening play. The O and every pairing of consonants can be combined to make 3-letter words bop, mob, mop, or pom, each scoring identically but leaving a different consonant in your rack. The tile valuation of B is the lowest and M is the highest. In fact, by playing bop, the tile values infer that the score of our next play should be an average of 2.5 points higher than if we had played mop. Knowing the relative value of tiles is very important. You should try to memorize this list fully, or at least arrange the tiles in groups depending on their value. In this situation, we have a blank very early in the game, and if you recall, it is worth about 25 points, although some experts will argue that it should be 30 or even 35 points. With such an expensive rack as this, we aren't going to bingo this turn or next turn unless we exchange. We have the Q with no U, so we can play Key, QI for a respectable 31 points at J6, or we can use the blank and play Quiz for 72 points. Although not a bingo, using the blank for an extra 41 points is correct. Now let's change the rack to this. The Q play here is Qualm for 51 points, but this is only 20 points greater than Key and does not merit using the blank. Valuation of multiple tile leaves gets much more complex because a 2-tile valuation is not equal to the sum of the valuation of the 2 tiles. For example, the Q and U are both rated poorly to a summed valuation of negative 11.9. However, when you combine these 2 tiles, they become much more powerful and their actual valuation together is positive 1.2. Getting deeper, the opening rack of BCEKQSU has two plays that outscore all of the others, Becks and Bucks. They are offensively and defensively identical, but the QU leave values 9.4 points higher than the QE leave. The difference between the valuation of a pair and the sum of the valuations of each of the individual tiles is referred to as the synergy. Some pairs complement each other well and have a positive synergy, while others just simply don't go together in very many words and have a negative synergy. For example, VK has a negative synergy as is seen here, and DE has a positive synergy as is seen here. It is important to remember the difference between synergy and the valuation of the pair. The QU has a much higher synergy than the ES, yet the ES still has an overall higher valuation. It is an impossible task to memorize all of the 2 tile synergies, much less the 3, 4, or 5 tile synergies. We're now going to continue on to the next video where we'll talk about certain rules that you can use to estimate exactly what the valuations are and the synergies are of 2 tiles or more.